Hey guys, it's Lizbeth from Lizbeth Books. I'm here today to do my September wrap-up. I've already done a mid-September wrap-up and I'll link it below if you haven't seen that one. But these are the rest of the books I read in September. But first, I want to let you guys know I finished the movie The Book Thief. My challenge for July, I want to say, was read a book and watch a movie adaptation. And I picked a bunch of different ones and The Book Thief was one of them. And I just never got around to watching it. I watched half of it in, I want to say July. It was either June or July was this challenge. And I watched half of it in June or July. And then I totally gave up and I finished it the second half of September, the last half. And oh my god, I was crying so much. But I still think I would recommend the book more than this movie just because I just really didn't like the movie as much as the book. But it was still a really good movie. The actors were really good. The plot was really good. It's just I'd rather read about this. But I'm so happy I finally watched this and I can give this back to Ashley. Sorry I've had it for so long. So jumping into the books, first I read Onyx by Jennifer L. Armentrout. That's the second book in her Lux series, so I have this big bind up, and I had read Obsidian in June or July, and I finally got around to reading the second half, which was Onyx. And I mean, I think the series is really cute. It's literally just Twilight with aliens instead of vampires, and there's a lot of the same passages, everything's pretty similar, and so I really do like it. I'm not gonna keep this or anything and buy the rest of the series, but I will totally borrow them from my library because I want to see what happens next. But this is not one I need to own. It is pretty cheesy, pretty silly, but I love it just because it reminds me so much of Twilight and I really enjoy Twilight, so that's really the only reason I like these books. Then I read Titans by Victoria Scott. This is an art copy. The book actually comes out in February, I believe. And this book was alright. It just reminded me so much of her Fire and Flood series that she already wrote. And she was very proud about this one, saying it was unique and different, and I felt like it was literally the same book. It's basically a girl whose family is they need money to save their house, so she enters this race that is half horse, half robot companion. So, it was just very, very similar. And I still gave it 4 stars though because I really did like the story. It just was so much like the other one. I thought I wouldn't buy this one because I really liked Fire and Flood more. But if I had read this before Fire and Flood and then read Fire and Flood, I probably would have liked this more just because they're pretty much the same story. I read Shadowlands by Kate Bryan, and this book started out so good. It's about a girl who's walking in the woods and she runs into her teacher, and so she's relieved. She's like, oh, it's just my teacher, but it's told in his point of view at the beginning, and he wants to kidnap her, kill her, and she escapes, and turns out her teacher has murdered and kidnapped 14 other girls all around America. He is very wanted, no one's ever been able to find him. He's so smart. He has set up cameras in her house. He's been spying on her and knows everything about her. So it was really creepy and good. But then they get put into this witness protection program that was very, very silly. They were just kind of leave your house, drive in this car until the map tells you to stop, and then you're at your new safe house. And it's anyone could have followed you. This wasn't very smart. It became very cheesy. When they got to the new town, it was everybody loved the main character. Everyone wanted to know her. It just felt like a waste of time reading it, and the ending sucked. But then I found out there's a second one, so now I kind of want to know what happens, but I'm not going to buy it. I will probably borrow it from the library someday. Then I read Mr. Penumbras 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, and this one started off pretty good. It's about a guy who doesn't have a job, and he finds that there's a help wanted sign at a 24-hour bookstore, and his shift is 10 at night till 6 in the morning. And he decides to do it just because he really has nothing else to do. And so at first it was really good because it was just him working at a bookstore, and I really love bookstores and that idea of things. But then it turned into kind of a mystery novel of why people were coming into the bookstore and borrowing the books they do. And so not to give it away, it just seemed really silly, the mystery part of it and why they were doing it, and I just bumped it down to 3 stars because I really didn't enjoy it after probably the first 50 pages. It just got really boring, and the ending was just, I don't know, I found it very stupid. I didn't really enjoy it, and so I've always wanted to read this book, so I'm really sad. It was pretty much a letdown for me. it just wasn't really that enjoyable for me. Next I read The Man of My Dreams by Curtis Sittenfield, and she wrote Prep, which is like one of my favorite books from like middle school, high school, so I wanted to read another book by her. This one wasn't really my favorite. It's just, it literally was Prep, the character from Prep, but like a way, way, way more boring version of her. Like, it's about her life growing up and then like in college and then as an adult, and it's just, the character seemed so much like Lee from Prep, but Lee from Prep kind of evolved more into a character you liked, and I just never liked this main character. All her decisions she made, I would never make them. I didn't like any of them. And there's a section where she goes to Alaska, which is where I'm from, and it's just very, very like, Alaska, oh my god, so cool. And it's like, you didn't actually come to Alaska to like write this book, I don't think. You just kind of Googled like, what's cool about Alaska? Bears. Let's put bears in this book, you know. So it was just really silly, and by the end of it I just didn't really care for like any of the characters really. Nobody I liked, and so I wouldn't really recommend this one, but I have another book by her I will probably pick up next month to see if I like anything else by her. Then I read This Shattered World by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner, and I borrowed this from the library. Oh my god, I hated this so much. I literally, okay, I don't give up on books, and I gave up on this. I did. So I read it. I read like 200 pages and then I skim read the rest to like get some key points, but yeah, I gave up on it, and I never give up on books. But I read the first book in the series last year, I want to say, or it was like last January or something, and it was okay. I found it very cheesy, and everybody's reviews, like, they love it. I don't really know how. I didn't really love it. And then all the reviews on this one were like, it was even better than the first one, blah, 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 and I was like, no. It was so boring. It was just like nothing. It was like so much happened that it was so boring. It was like right after the other. It was like, I got kidnapped, I got saved, this happened, there's a bomb, da da da. And it was like, there was never any pause to like slow down or comprehend the story. It was just like, everything's gonna keep happening, which can be exciting, but it made me not like anybody because I didn't know anything about them. It was just like, ooh, they do this, ooh, they go there, ooh. And it felt very sloppily written to me. It was just very like moving on to one thing to another. It switched back between main girl and the main boy, and then every like section in between were these little pages that like didn't have anything to do with it, that were trying to be like deep or something. It's like, it comes in fragments, her mother screamed, the smell of something burning, which sounds cool, but then it was like, what does this have to do? All these little sections to break up the story. No. I just didn't like it, okay? I don't know how to describe it. I gave up, and I had to skim it, and then I looked it up online, and yeah, I don't care. And I'm not going to read the third one, yay. So glad I borrowed it from the library. Then I read Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick, which I super enjoyed this one. I watched the movie probably like 2 or 3 years ago, and it was okay, but I found it just very like over the top, like way too quirky for me. And the book though was like way more mellow. It was like way more mellow than the movie. I feel like they made the movie so dramatic and so over the top. Like, they made the characters like swear so much and stuff, and it was like this book, they swore like 3 times, you know? So I just really liked it. Not anything to do with swearing. It was just like very over the top in the movie. And this book was just the same thing, but so much more realistic. So much more realistic. Like, everything pretty much happens that's in the movie, but just not as dramatic. And so I really liked it, reading it. I would totally reread this again. I don't think I would watch the movie again because I just didn't really like it. But as a book, really like it. And I do like the movie cover though, because I love Jennifer Lawrence, and look at her little face. So cute. But it's about a guy who has a mental breakdown, and his wife has left him, and he's just trying to do anything to get back to his wife, but she has like a restraining order against him. He's not allowed to see her. So he just like works out. He just tries to become like the man that Nikki's always wanted. Like, he's trying to read the books she likes, like trying to, like, he thinks before he speaks, and tries to say things that he thinks Nikki would want him to say. And he meets this girl named Tiffany, whose husband has died, and they just become weird, quirky friends. And I just found it so enjoyable just as a book. It was just really good. And finally this month I read Sense and Sensibility For my reading challenge this month, it was to read a classic, so I picked up this one. And not gonna lie, I really didn't enjoy this. I probably gave it like a 2 stars. It was just very boring for me. And not that it was like because it was in Old English or anything. I just found the story so boring. It's just about 2 girls who basically when they see a boy, they just fall in love, and then it's like, oh, never mind. And then it's like next man loves them. It's like, okay, and that's not really what it is, but that's just what it felt like to me. I just didn't really like any of the characters, and I saw a movie version of it, and not gonna lie, like I didn't really like the movie version either because it was pretty boring. But I think I would watch that movie again instead of reading this just because I liked all the actors in that movie, so I would watch it for them. But I don't know, reading it literally was the same thing, just so boring. The cover's pretty though. Should I keep it for the cover? Probably shouldn't do that, but it's so cute. So yeah, it wasn't really a favorite for me, but I'm not going to give up on Jane Austen. I think I will try to pick up more of her books, but maybe just from the library, and then if I like them, I'll buy the pretty version. Try not to buy books. You know this is a lie, but I try not to. So yeah guys, those are all the books I read in the second half of September. What are some books you've read this September? Let me know below. And thank you guys so much for watching. Bye guys!